We have Adrian Jauregui. I'm Monique Marie. Adrian, this is the face behind the brand. So I'm
Nice.
so happy to see you. I've been having your song on all week on repeat.
Nice. I love it. I love how you pronounce my last name too. You got it right on.
Did
It's typically hard.
I? Jauregui, right?
Yeah, no, you did a very good job. It's the most challenging part when I introduce myself. They're like, "How do you say your last name?" And they butcher it, but no, you got it spot on.
Okay, well, I'm excited. Well, I know you go by AJ also. So what would you
Yeah,
prefer? Adrian, AJ? So,
yeah, it doesn't matter.
okay, so let's get into it. I know you have a busy day. You mentioned to me you got a lot going on today. So I'm so glad that you worked me into your schedule. And
No, thank you for having me.
so let's get started. So where is Adrian Jauregui from?
So I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I actually relocated to the Bay Area, so I'm now in Oakland, California.
Okay,
But yeah, I love the diversity here. It's just the culture. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's such a great city.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So Oakland, I'm from Oakland also. So when I first,
really.
yes, yes, I'm born and raised in Oakland, and I actually went to King Estates. I went to my mom ended up moving us to San Leandro for a while, and then I
Okay.
ended up in Vallejo and graduated from Vallejo High. So I'm a Bay Area girl for life.
Nice.
So I always compliment, anyone, of course, coming out of, Oakland, LA. I know your background's also Los Angeles, correct?
Correct. It's Los Angeles originally.
Okay. So who was a musician in your family? Who inspired you?
My father actually.
Okay.
So my father was actually a musician. He was a vocalist. He played a little guitar. He was just like well-rounded. But primarily, I kind of just based my passion off him, hearing his music, seeing how passionate he was, and just kind of like observing and kind of tapping back into that family blood, that gene that I have, or that I personally feel that I have as a musician.
Absolutely. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then your brother and sister are also musicians, correct?
Yes, my brother, I'm sorry, my brother's actually a DJ, and then my sister's also a vocalist too. So it runs in the family.
Runs in the family. I love it.
Yeah,
Love it. That's
yeah.
wonderful
So
to hear. So would you say that your father is how you first got into music? Because you were hearing dad play all around the house and
yeah,
events?
yeah, pretty much. I mean, like just growing up, my mom would just play some of his music and just kind of like listening to it. It's so weird because it's so different. So my family were Hispanic,
Yes.
and he played like Spanish music growing up and stuff like that.
Nice.
And it's just so different, but it's just a genre base where like I can still tap into that, like the rhythm, the guitar, vocals, drums,
Hmm.
and just kind of like lead into my own genre that I wanted to create, which is just pretty much mixing anything and everything. If you listen to my music, I like to describe it as like listening to your iPod shuffle
Yeah.
because I just pull from everyone. I go from like listening to BB King to Frank Sinatra to Neo
Hmm.
to Chris Brown to Justin Bieber, and then I'm all over the place.
I love that. I mean, I literally picked up like R&B, pop, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Some, even late or oldies like 40s, 50s, top 40 music, that kind of stuff.
Oh yes, I love that.
I love that. So I think I was just, and I'm not, just trying to, like, give you a big head here. I literally have been on this song for like the last week and a half. I discovered
Thank
your
you.
music. I think was it Buzz Music?
Buzz Music, yes.
Yes, I discovered your song on Buzz Music. I was actually looking at what they could do and what their background was, and then I was like, "Who is this?" And
Yeah.
so ever since then, I was just like, "Oh my God, I have to interview him. I have to have him on." And I definitely
Thank
want to support everything that you're doing, of course, because you're, Oakland business.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
Exactly. No, I appreciate the support.
so let's talk about No Brainer. This song, of course, dropped on July 30th of this year, and it
Yes.
features Brianna Marin. Am I saying that?
Yes.
Okay, so give me the creative process about No Brainer.
Sure. So, I've actually been working with Brianna for some time. She actually owns a company. It's called Love Pulse.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a management umbrella where she writes hooks, she ghost writes, she sings,
Wow.
she has a production team that produces, and she's pretty well rounded.
Hmm.
I found her on social media, and I've been trying to get her attention for like a year, pretty much. Yeah, and it's funny because I covered one of her songs that she did with a musician by the name of Bora.
Okay.
They both did a song, and she just responded one day to one of my messages, and she's like, "Hey, I love your voice."
Wow.
I was like, "Oh my God, that like I love you as a musician. Like that, this is the person that I wanted to collaborate with."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she kind of just introduced me to her umbrella and her network, and then I got the opportunity to license the beat. The creative process was just it was just exciting,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Working with her. In fact, she actually kind of restructured the whole song.
Mm-hmm.
So originally, the way I had it, she just changed it, and
Wow.
and I feel like she changed it for the better.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was amazing to be in my own creative space, to have that collaborator, to kind of bounce off her voice,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and just be in my creative space in my zone, just kind of recording remotely and just asking her for ideas and what she thought and things like that.
Okay. And now this song was produced by Dream Life, correct?
Dream Life,
Okay.
correct.
So how did you meet Dream Life?
So through Brianna's connection too.
Okay. Also, okay.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful collab. I mean, incredible. I think all of you. I mean, I'm again really, really big on energy. I mean, what are your thoughts about that? Obviously, this song exudes a lot of energy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The first time I was like really introduced to the instrumental, I got the chills.
My God.
And I knew instantly, I was like, this is what I want to jump on, and I want to tap into this community. Because like I mentioned before, most of my stuff, it's more focused on pop or like electronic music.
Yes, yes.
But I felt connected to the instrumental, and I just started writing.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I generated my ideas, I talked to Brianna. I was like, look, this is what I want to work on. Can you help me? And she said, yeah, let's meet up. And we did like a 45-minute session via Zoom or on Google.
Nice.
And we broke it down. So it was so cool.
Well, you broke it down, honey. I mean, my God. So if you go back to 2019 when you released Crossfire, what would you say would be the difference between the feel, and since we're talking about the difference in the genre and then the instrumentals and the melodic sounds, what would you say is the difference between Crossfire now and then, of course, No Brainer?
So they're completely different energies. I feel like Crossfire is they're both emotional. So I feel like they're similar in that sense. But Crossfire was me experimenting and jumping into my music career. So I was pretty unsure of my sound.
Okay.
But I always loved singing like mainstream or American Top 40 or electronic music. So I just tested the waters.
Okay. Okay.
Now going into the new single, this one was a more emotional connection where I really sat down, I soaked in my thoughts, I was reminiscing, and I was tapping back into it. So I was more focused on what I actually wanted to produce and illustrate in the story.
So reminiscing, you know, is it a love? It's obviously a love song. It's very intimate.
It's a love song, yeah.
So are we reminiscing about someone from the past or the present? What would you?
It's actually present. So
Okay.
it's someone I'm currently dating right now, and there's like a focused little like verse just directly to her, and she's aware of it.
Wow.
So that was inspiration.
Wow.
And just having that creativity with Brianna, just I told her, I was like, when we're doing this song, I want it to be like you and I are in a relationship, and I want to really present that.
Yes.
So you and I are talking in the song. So
yes, well, I get very, very in tune with it. I mean, to the point, there was one night, the other night, I was coming home, and I literally drove past my house to keep playing. So the song would keep playing. I'm like, I'm not done yet. I mean, even though I could still, you know, come in the house and listen, you know, it's something about driving. And then I'm only 1 minute into the song. I'm like, I need to go back around the corner and keep listening. It's so romantic, and it's just so smooth and intimate. It's beautiful. So I appreciate you really expressing, you know, what it is, because it's an intimate love song. And
it is a very intimate love song.
It's very hot. Talk about Fool's Gold. That came out also this year.
Ooh, yeah. So that's also
tapping. Got a list for you.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, that one I've been focusing on a little bit as far as like promoting the song. But that one was actually my most recent relationship, which is my ex-girlfriend. And yeah, I mean, we all go through that path where
Yeah.
we feel like we're connected to someone, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. So I'm a firm believer of just strictly going our paths, respecting one another. But I was able to express how I felt because I felt like frustrated, I felt sad, I felt a little confused, and I wanted to compose that in a song. So we came out with Fool's Gold.
Well, it's a beautiful song also. You mentioned some of your top influencers as your father, of course, your brother and sister. I know
Yeah.
some of your influencers, of course, in the industry are Pharrell. I picked that up,
Yes.
Chester Bennington.
Yes.
And then you have some wonderful artist friends, of course, from this whole Latin world. So I was definitely doing my research on you. I wanted to go deep in
Wow. Yeah.
to realize who you are. And I just want to, also focus on some of your friends you have, Freddie Bam Bam, Vibes,
Yes.
some of them. You talk about how influential they've been also in your creative process.
So just having that emotional support, I talked about it in a recent article about like mental health and
Yes.
how individuals get discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
So having that community close to home and having those individuals where I'm seeing them excel, them accelerate their energy, their passion, their love,
Mm-hmm.
that gets me excited too.
Yeah.
So I'm always like constantly connecting with them, checking in. And then sometimes I even bounce off them and we bounce off each other. And it's all about that emotional support
Yeah.
and having that strong community. So really developing that.
Well, that's big because yes, you did a interview with Dark Magazine recently, and that's where we got that wonderful shot. So thank you for that,
Oh yeah.
for sharing that. And so let's kind of go a little deeper into that because that's a biggie, and not just for musicians, but just in general. As far as dealing with mental health,
Right.
for some people, especially right now. I mean, listen, we're in the middle of a pandemic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you have been able to creatively release not one but two songs here in the last few months. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, again, that support process is crucial. But what happens, say, when AJ is at home by himself and not
Mm-hmm.
around his support? Where is his mindset with all this going on in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah, I try to mentally check in with myself daily.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's extremely important. Um, it's funny because it ties into what I currently do. So I'm not a full-time musician. In fact, I work in emergency management and construction health and safety.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been doing that. I was an EMT and an ER tech for about like 10 years. So just seeing the whole medical aspect, the whole medical background,
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to experience that stress and I learned how to debrief. So I come to music as a closure.
Mm.
Just like getting into my room, it's like the world turns off for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes turn off the lights, I set a mood, turn on some like either soothing music or whatever I'm feeling in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just start creating whatever I feel, and that's how I express myself. When I was younger, my mom would always identify me like through my moods based on what I'm playing. So I would play like guitar in my room, and she would check in on me, and she'd be like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Based on the sound that she was hearing.
My goodness.
Or else she would check in and say like, "Hey, you're in a good mood today, right?"
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." She's like, "I can hear it." So
Wow. Reception,
yeah,
right? That's
yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
And of course, it's mommy, but I mean, it's just still knowing
Yeah.
someone's perspective can really see and feel the difference of
Oh, absolutely.
where you are mentally and where you are physically. I mean, it makes a big difference. Let me ask you this. I'm looking at your background too, and I love your background going on there.
Oh yeah.
I also pay attention to all of the singles that you put out. Are you you're into Star Wars and space and are Trekkie or
Uh, yeah, you know what? I don't know why I'm so into like galaxies and just like stars. I recently got into like stargazing and stuff like that. It's just so soothing and calming.
yeah.
That's kind of like my outer space. It's my music, like turning off the lights, getting into my environment, my zone. That's my outer space, and I like to share that with people.
It's perfect.
Um, yeah,
It's perfect for the whole visual and the aspects. I mean, that's how you feel. Like, where am I?
yeah,
You're a
exactly.
whole nother world, and your music is definitely out of this world. So we appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
What other so you mentioned you're into emergency medical. What would you be doing outside of that position and or music if you weren't doing either one of those? What would you be doing today?
That's a good question. I'm not too sure, but I mean, I know for a fact music is a huge passion of mine.
Hmm.
Um, if I weren't doing either,
Hmm.
I think I would do something with writing. I'm just very passionate about writing,
Yeah.
storytelling, illustrating, things like that. So possibly collaborating with some artistic individual or some visual arts, something like that.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Did you ever play any kind of sports in high school or junior high?
I did. Yeah, I played baseball for a while,
Okay.
and I was in band. So I was originally a percussionist for a while.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was in drumline, I played the drum set. I was in jazz band
Hmm.
for about 4 years.
Hmm.
So having the influences of just like B.B. King, Muddy Waters, things like that's who I focused on, and that's where I get my rhythm from, I think, just
Yeah,
focusing on individuals like them.
absolutely. So baseball. So who would you say is your favorite team? I know we're who,
Right now, it's the Dodgers, but we always choke.
oh my gosh. Are you well, I'm a Giants fan for life.
Are you? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, even though from Oakland, yes, to athletics, but it's something about the Giants for me. You know,
Yeah.
and speaking of Dodgers, I was at that Matt Cain's perfect game. Do you remember that game when
Mm,
the Dodgers played and it was the perfect game? Of course, it's the Giants because they won.
yeah, yeah, of course it's the Giants. I thought you're reminiscing and going back to that,
I'm
huh?
sorry. I just, it was Matt Cain's perfect game, and it was the best energy going on because I mean, it was like the Dodgers, the Giants. It was just perfect. You know,
Yeah, I love how you can feel that rivalry and that energy, and going to that stadium pre-COVID, it's such a beautiful
it's
stadium too,
so beautiful. It's
and really good energy. It's right by the water. You have like restaurants and like all kinds of breweries, and it's a good environment there.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, I like how you're definitely utilizing, of course, your platform and all the other platforms. Everything that's going on, utilizing Spotify. Obviously,
mhm,
the distribution puts that out for us, which makes it really nice.
right.
How do you feel the internet has impacted the music business overall?
I feel like we have access to other countries and other like users and other fans that we typically wouldn't have access here in the US. Like I really depend on social media
Mm-hmm.
to get my music out there. When I'm tracking things on Spotify, or sometimes I'll get users or collaborators from like Chile or like just like Thailand and Japan. It's amazing to see how far my voice gets, and these other artists, they have those opportunities too.
Yeah.
You literally just post something on the internet and you have no idea who's looking at you
Who's listening or who's watching?
or
Uh,
who's listening or who's watching. Yeah.
I have a younger cousin, and she's always very instrumental. My cousin Shauna, she's up north in near like a Clear Lake area, but she
Okay.
always used to talk about how even internet radio is crucial.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about internet radio?
So right now I'm actually tapping into that. I'm working with a management company in the UK,
Hmm.
and they're actually helping me with internet radio. And I've seen increases in streams and just following. It's very organic, but having that access where you get these different channels to different countries, locations, cities,
It's pretty big.
like that, it's huge. It's so huge.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's important too. Well, based on what you've shared with us, I mean, what is one message as an artist that's been in the game? I mean, you've been doing this for well over what, 15 years or so?
About 15 years, yeah.
What message would you share with an artist who is going through exactly the process, like the beginning process though? Like hasn't recorded, never stepped in the studio before,
Right.
has this ambition. What would you say to them right now?
I would say just whatever you have present, don't doubt yourself. Just go for it. Uh, I wouldn't say expect disappointment, but be realistic. But I mean, people always start at the number zero.
Mm,
I feel like a lot of individuals have that expectation of just like popping or growing within a couple months, and then they get discouraged
yeah,
because they only have like 11 viewers and stuff like that.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. Just stay humble, stay grounded.
Mm-hmm,
You're gonna get there,
mm-hmm.
and make music because I mean you enjoy doing it, and someone's going to connect to it, believe it or not.
Absolutely. I have, for one, AJ, I've met quite a few people,
Mhm.
literally just on IG. I mean, it's crazy. I was social distancing for 2 years. I just got back on Instagram in January.
Wow. Okay.
So this whole pandemic thing is like, this is what I do anyway. Like I stay to myself. I go into my own world some days, and it's never personal. It's just because I'm zoning, and it could be forever how long I'm zoning, you know. But I like that because you always share that focusing on your craft, and you said this, and I quote, focus on your craft and not popularity or numbers.
Right.
You know, it's very important because I do see that a lot of people, you know, they want to be up next, so to speak, and,
Right.
you know, and get a Grammy, and it's not about that. I think I was told years ago, my stepdad was also a musician, and
Okay.
and I was same thing in the house with him. He made me do living room performances, but one thing he told me is an overnight success is 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's
And like I mentioned before, just I think that that's a big contributing factor where people just get discouraged and they're disappointed because they have these expectations. And then social media also too can be toxic because a lot of people will see like these TikToks
yeah,
and they'll see like these Instagram posts and they're thinking, well, he just posted him playing the drums and he got 15,000 views and
yeah.
I feel like I'm better and I'm doing that too. How come I'm not receiving that same attention?
Mm.
And it's not about that. It's really about connecting with your fans,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
really like developing those partnerships and you'll eventually get there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, pre-COVID 19, of course, what type of shows or any type of performances have you done? Which one?
So I've done like local coffee shops,
Mm-hmm.
and just like in-house performances with friends, family.
Okay.
I actually had the opportunity when I went to Mexico City with some family. We did like a little mini tour where I got on stage, I did some like karaoke,
Mm-hmm.
and then the manager of that venue is like, "Hey, can you come back tomorrow night? And can you do that again?" I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be cool."
Heck yeah.
And we were in Mexico City for like a week and a half, and I did like 3 performances there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, everything's local. I think I would consider myself more of a studio musician as opposed to like actually publicizing my things, given the fact that I work full time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've been in the room with some individuals where I've done like ghostwriting. I've helped out some individuals in like marketing, visuals, and I guess like my biggest accomplishment, I've worked with networks like Viacom, like Nickelodeon.
Wow.
I've done stuff with Disney,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes the projects aren't successful, but I've been in the room,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm always constantly learning.
Yeah, and that's humble in itself, you know. I mean, it starts with
Yeah.
humility, right? If you're just even just there. And again, it goes back to the energy and who you're sitting around and networking with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you just start building off that and you go from there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about placements because one of your songs did receive a placement. I saw that somewhere. You have,
Yeah, so I got placed on an editorial playlist with Spotify.
okay.
It was indie pop,
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually an acoustic song that I thought was a joke, but it actually made it to an editorial playlist. It's called that Alley song.
Okay.
And I did a collaboration with that, but yeah, that was very unexpected. I didn't expect much. It was just something for me to continuously release content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've been placed with Crossfire in the UK with a couple of editorial playlists at Spotify
Mm-hmm.
and just getting some exposure like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I read that and I was like, oh my gosh. So, with everything that's going on, because I'll go all the way back to March 16th when the pandemic began, of course, and then of course you see now that we're in the middle of race war, and then we also have an election going on. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and again, this is all again going back to the mental health, right? So it's like,
Right.
where are you right now with that? Like, what are your thoughts on everything that's going on? I know it can be a conversation that lasts forever, but I want to know
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
what your thoughts.
No, I mean, I think we really have to focus like on human rights. I'm a huge person, like an activist for like having just that individuality of supporting one another and having those communities too. I mean, there's so much going on in the world where sometimes I disconnect and I turn off the TV and I try to like disconnect because it clutters, it fogs my mind,
It's too much.
and it gets to me. I'm not gonna lie, it really does.
I feel you. Yeah.
And then being here in Oakland too, like we see a lot of proactive like individuals just like stating how they feel and doing these walks, and I can literally hear it. Like I'm probably like, I'd say less than half a mile away from a very popular location, Lake Merritt. Here in
Yes, every week,
and
right?
every week, yeah. But it's cool though, and I'm hearing these protests going on from like 10 p.m. till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to the present, there's just so much chaos, and I mean, during these times, people really have to focus on supporting one another.
Absolutely.
And just checking in with the family, checking in with your friends, checking in with yourself.
Well, your music is definitely therapeutic, AJ. So it's
Thank you.
talking about love. It's taking us away from, the
Yeah.
Because it is depressing. I think in the beginning of, I never thought I would be the person to go there, but I literally broke down like after watching the news, and I think I was just watching it because it just repeats itself over and over, literally. And I had been watching it for like 30, 45 minutes, and all of a sudden I just start bawling out. It was just like I was in a lot of pain. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was scared.
Right.
And then of course, my mother was here with me, and I just thank God. But she was just like, she's been through this, from the 50s, right. And just like, this is, yes, it's not to say it's okay. It's been going on for years. You know what I'm saying? But let's stay together and let's comfort each other, and let's, make sure that we're not against each other, if you will, because I think that's important.
Yeah.
It's hard to express to another race or an individual in general the power of our connection if we're saying that, even in my situation, if Black Lives Matter, but if we don't matter to each other, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, right. If they see us killing each other, how can I express the importance of what I really mean, So
yeah.
it's
and
crazy.
People have to remember it's okay to feel the way you feel too, and it's okay to express yourself. Like you literally have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm always constantly telling like my friends and family, if you feel like you have to cry, go ahead and cry. It's normal. That is completely 100% normal. To feel angry, to feel suppressed, to feel like anxiety.
Yeah.
Those are all normal things, but people don't highlight that because people are scared.
Yeah.
But at some point, people have experienced something traumatic in their lives, or they're seeing it visually, and they're having that anxiety. So that exists, and I'm a firm believer of just saying like it's okay to feel like that. You just have to figure out how you're going to adapt to that situation and how you're going to make it better, your environment better. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're talking about it, and I'm glad you are an artist that really is true to yourself for one, but just true to us, looking in, and because I think it's a facade, if you will, when you don't talk about mental health and anxiety, and because I go through anxiety, you know what I'm saying, and I cry. I'm gonna cry, I just and it feels better actually when I do cry, so
yeah. It really does. I mean, there's been some times where I've like really checked into myself and I've cried, or I felt angry, or if I just take a nap, or I just start writing. So I let those feelings out. I let that frustration out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, your father, I definitely know, of course, has been a definitely big influence on your life. What has any other artist or producer, what advice has someone else given you from a standpoint of just experience in this industry?
Yeah, just working with these collaborators too. So like going back to like Brianna, like sometimes I'll just check in with her because she's a pretty successful individual. She's worked with like Fifth Harmony before. I know she's worked with Keisha Cole.
Okay.
So she's actually written for those individuals. And sometimes I'll just ask her like questions, and I'll check in with her. And she always tells me like, don't give up. Like I started with zero. I started with maybe 5 or 10 fans when I was doing these live streams, and I eventually got here. So whatever you have, just throw it out there. If you're in a creative process, just keep going. And there's this post that an artist by the name of Russ, he actually posted, I think, probably a week and a half ago. He put that project that's sitting on your laptop might be your best project. Go ahead and finish it and just release it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So that I really resonated from that, where I was just saying like, hey, I have a couple of projects in my laptop. Maybe I should show the world, because again, it's not about numbers,
Mm-hmm.
even though it does make me feel good. I'm not gonna lie, but
Right.
people like yourself or other individuals that will shoot me a text or a message and they said, "Hey, I loved your song." That makes me feel really, really good. I'm like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
you heard it, you connected to it,"
Mm-hmm.
and they start asking me questions, and they're like, "Yeah, like I feel like I connect to that storyline because this happened to me too,"
Yeah.
and that's amazing.
Well, it's incredible. And you're just, again, you're doing so much. What is Touch of Art about? Tell us about that.
So, Touch of Art is a new community that I'm going to be working on and releasing hopefully in November.
Mm-hmm.
So, right now I'm working with collaborators like artists, DJs, singer songwriters, top liners, and it's just having a supportive community where artists can go, like, say, for example, I'm actually working with an app developer right now
Mm.
and just kind of like supporting one another. So, say for example, I'm a singer, I'm looking for a producer, we're able to connect through that community,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're constantly supporting each other. Like we're reposting each other's work, we're collaborating, and if you do have a network, you're able to introduce those individuals to your network as well. So
I love
it's
it.
just your touch of art, your focus, what you want to show the world.
Well, it's beautiful. I saw the idea and just the art itself, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, I was wondering, well, who did the art? Who's the graphic designer?
So a graphic designer that I met on social media on Instagram, like literally, yeah. It's funny because you're connecting with everyone on Instagram right now. You know?
Yeah, it's like I've like connected with you. I've
Yeah.
connected. I would say like in the last few months I've connected, and it's funny. I'm connecting with a lot of people. Yes, here in the Bay, but so many people from the East Coast. It's just
Oh yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
It's so much love coming from the East Coast. It's amazing. So, I think it's definitely helpful to use. I mean, are you using Twitter and Twitch and all those other platforms,
I'm
Facebook?
using all those platforms right now. Yeah, the more exposure I get, the more I'm connected, and the more fan base I get, and the more friendships I develop too.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
pretty cool.
Well, I'm excited again to have you on. I know I'm not going to keep you too much longer because I know you got one more interview after me. So you're a busy guy right now.
I
But,
do in a bit.
but I definitely just want to give, again, hats off to you, what you're doing, AJ. The song is amazing. Your music is incredible. So
Thank you so much.
if I can give you advice, I would say the same thing, to keep going, because as I told you earlier, this song right here is definitely Hitsville material type. Okay. So,
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope it blows up to the point where where my expectations are, but it's gonna get there eventually.
well,
So
it's already there. Something that my mom always says, and I used to say that even as a kid, like, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. She said, you're already that, like you were born already as. It's like, you just don't see it yet, you know? So,
I love that.
yeah. So take that with you. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And to anyone who's, again, listening to us today, this is Adrian Jauregui, and No Brainer is the single that's out, and it's on all platforms. So please run it up. So
Thank you so
thank you
much.
for coming on today, and I appreciate you so much, and God bless you.
God bless you too. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.